Hey, what's up, gang? This is Donald from Donald Plays. I thought, as a recap to our Skyrim series, we'd do a little bit of this ranking because I keep seeing these videos of from creators I like where they rank things, and I just want to get in on it. So I just kind of this is going to be kind of a recap, just kind of of course, my opinion of like an overview of Skyrim and just the stuff that I enjoyed from it, according from best to worst. So let's take a look. First, we have the cities, and I usually like to put down polls. So if you check my polls and my community tab, you'll see I have a quiz for cities. It doesn't have all the cities, but yeah, it's interesting to see what people vote for and how close their opinions align to mine and the differences. And it's just really neat to see the repertoire. So let's start out here. We have Solitude. We have Whiterun. We have Dawn Star. Markarth. We have Morthal. We have good old Riften. We have Windhelm, Winterhold, and Falkreath. So I just had to refresh another tab open with the city name just so I don't confuse the sigils. So just let you guys know, I huge fan of Elder Scrolls. My first Elder Scrolls game was Morrowind, but I am by no means any kind of authority on it. I always highly recommend if you want a channel that delves deep in the lore. This channel is more about the experience and about just kind of enjoying it on its face value and different series and things. It's not a strictly Elder Scrolls lore channel, and we don't do a lot of lore videos. But if you're interested in lore, I highly recommend the channel Fudge Muppet. They seem to do a really good job, in my opinion. So, okay, according to from best to worst, I'm gonna go ahead. I'd say my favorite city is actually Markarth. I just love the history of the Dwemer there that exists, the Dwemer ruins, and the it just is a breathtaking city, just so beautiful with the architecture. Um, maybe the downfall is it might be a little cold with all the stone there, but and a little dusty from the mines. But in my opinion, it's my favorite looking city. Um, I would put I'd put Whiterun up there, not at the very top, but I would say that Whiterun is like one of the best cities. Like, if Markarth wasn't, it would be the best city. And it just has, from the palace, just the structure of the Jarls is the best palace in any city, in my opinion, even Markarth. Markarth is a pretty cool to have the throne room in the ruins, but it just doesn't look as handcrafted and as breathtaking and like a nod to Nordic culture and Viking lore as the Jarl's Palace and Whiterun. Also, the Companions Guild is super cool, and the World Tree, and having those different districts, and it just the waterfall throughout I know, of course, Markarth also has waterfalls, but just the water pools that are beneath the palace and the water flowing down and just the whole and the temple there is just super beautiful. Um, yeah, so Whiterun would be a close second. I would say Solitude. Mm, you know what? We'll put Whiterun up there with Markarth. I'd say it's on the same level. Solitude is like a solid city. Like, it's um how do you say, it's not bad in regards to, well, it's a good it's super good. Like, I love the architecture. I love how clean the place is. I like the medieval, almost has like a medieval, not a Scandinavian, but like a more like Britain and Germanic and like like the Northern Europe during the High Middle Ages, kind of like the height of the Middle Ages. Like it has a very cathedral-esque kind of Gothic sort of look to it. That's just breathtakingly beautiful. The Blue Palace is amazing. The having the Bard's College there, all the different shops. I think they have pretty much every shop that you could think of to go to. Uh, yeah, so I would put Solitude as a solid, coming in second there, close second, almost top, almost super tier, but not quite, but definitely A tier. Um, I would say Dawn Star. I would actually put down here. Give a D for Dawn Star, and that's because it's. And I'm sorry if there's any hardcore Dawn Star fans out there, but it's just not. Doesn't really. Okay, that's kind of harsh. We'll put it on C tier. It doesn't really do a lot for me. Like, there's not really a lot there to see and do. It's kind of small. It's kind of neat that it's on the ocean. I guess you can get a good view of the ocean, but you can get a good view from the ocean from Solitude. Um, you can get a good view of the ocean. Um, pretty much anywhere along the coast as you're. It just is. It's not much to write about. Like, there's some cool quests there. Like, I like the Daedric quest. The museum, having the museum for Mehrunes Dagon is kind of neat to see, like the Mythic Dawn and the history of the Mythic Dawn, but uh it just doesn't do a whole lot for me. Um, in Morthal, I give Morthal B tier, and I put it over Dawnstar because Morthal, although it's kind of like a tiny like podunk town, it does kind of have a very like eerie vibe with like the vampires and the fog and the swamp, and it just is like watching a Tim Burton movie or like Sleepy Hollow. It has just a very spooky vibe that I like. But other than the vibe, there's really not much to go with there. There's just it's kind of boring otherwise. There's not a lot of shops to go to. Um, Riften, I'd put Riften up with the Solitude. Riften is it's not super tier, but there's a lot to do with the Thieves Guild and becoming a Nightingale there, and just the whole like Maven Blackbriar like kind of thuggish mentality of the city, and it just feels very, I don't know, it feels like Tatooine, um like it's the city in Tatooine. Mos Eisley. It feels very Mos Eisley. It's never been more hive of scum and villainy. It just is. It's so like theatrically over the top, corrupt. It just is an interesting city to go into for quests and things. And I like their temple there is really cool. The Jarl's Longhouse is fairly impressive, but it's nothing to write home about. But it's one of the more impressive. Um, yeah, so we'll put Riften on A tier. Um, we have here. We have Windhelm. I would say Windhelm. I would also put on A tier. It is. It's a little run down, and it's very cold looking. It looks like a miserable place to live, to be honest, because of all the wind, with the windiness to it, and just the cold, hard rock, and just the weather. Just mainly the weather, but the city itself is kind of it's got a rundown beauty to it. It's very like industrial era London, kind of reminds me of, like, what people paint as like the grim times of the cold weather, and almost like a Christmas Carol levels of just poverty, and just the cobblestone look to it, and everything's like kind of just very stony and cold. And the palace there is beautiful. It's got a kind of a historical like elegance buried under the brutality of the architecture that just is hard to dismiss. Just very, it's pretty. um I would say Winterhold. I'd put on B tier. um it just it would be, I would put it on a D tier if it weren't for the college. The college is like, if you count the college as part of Winterhold, it's almost tempting. Well, because it's the college. If we counted the city, if we counted the city itself, I would put it as like E tier, like city. But if you put the college as part of it, it's tempting to put it in A tier. Um, let's count the college. I'll put it in A tier because the college is like one of the grandest architectural achievements um in Skyrim. It's just beautiful, and just so many fond memories of Winterhold. Like barely the city. I barely pass through the city. Once you get to the college, at least for me, like I like never go to like, unless there's some quest that demands. I never like feel compelled to wander around like the 3 or 4 houses in Winterhelm or talk to the Jarl or anything because it's just cold and boring and just a harsh environment. But the college will knock it up to an A. Valkyrie, again, Valkyrie has an atmosphere to it. It it's kind of a run of the mill. You would wander through it, but there is something to it. There is something kind of down to earth about Valkyrie. The graveyard I find very impressive. The memories from the quest, like the Clavicus File quest and the Hersine quest, and yeah, it's kind of just it's a neat city. I wouldn't, I would, it's very like mid. It's a very mid city. Like I think I find it a lot more interesting than Dawnstar, but it's not like anything that's like super super memorable. But I do, but there it is like, it is kind of a neat city to walk through, and the graveyard is cool, and the atmosphere of the environment of the forest, that it like kind of, it's a city that works with the nature around it, which is pretty cool. So yeah, there's our Skyrim cities tier list. Let's do factions. What were my favorite factions? I would say the Vampire Clan was pretty darn cool. Like I would say like just the whole quest and going with what's her name? Serana maybe? But just the fighting like real gargoyles and going to the vampire castle and becoming a vampire lord and the vampire politics and going to that secret alchemist lab and then transporting ourselves to the realm of an undead realm of sorts, the realm of the masters or whatever it was. Just very, I don't know, it's a very creative quest. Defeating the vampire lord. Yeah, I put it up. It's an A tier quest. It's definitely like very memorable. A lot of character to it. Just the coolness of being a vampire and being in the vampire's castle, and um, just the whole vibe of being a vampire lord, and just in this awesome like kind of secretive society that has immense influence, and then the whole like idea of blotting out the sun is like a pretty like intense, like high stakes plot point. College of Winterhold, I would put top tier. That's one of my favorite quests. I just really like the looking for the Eye of Magnus. I like Labyrinthian. I like the just I probably, you can tell by me playing the game, but I lean heavily towards mages, like magic users. And I feel like the College of Winterhold, it also like you kind of set apart from the rest of Skyrim, where you feel like the outsider that's like the nerd that's studying at the college, when the rest of the land is a lot more down to earth, but also a lot more brutal, and just to be just that kind of intellectual snobbery, and the just the beauty of the college and the kind of the novelty of the quests, and just the feeling the camaraderie of working with your fellow students, and learning magic and stuff. and being part of this kind of outsider group is pretty cool. Um, Arts College, B tier, it's okay. It's really intense for like if you go to like be like, oh, I'll join the Bards College, I'm gonna do a bunch of music related quests or something like really easy, and it actually is one of the harder like quests in the game in my opinion. Like it, I didn't really care for the quest. Being in the Bard College is kind of cool. Doing the whole ceremony is kind of cool. The performing the for the Empress is pretty neat, but I don't know, not my favorite quest. For the Glory of the Empire, I actually haven't played this quest, so I don't have an opinion on it. So I'm gonna put it in D tier because it's gonna be meh until I play it. But I only played the Civil War quest once, and I did it as Stormcloaks. Uh, the Dark Brotherhood is up there. Like the Dark Brotherhood is like a pretty cool like institution, and the intrigue of like figuring out, is this like mummified corpse Sithis, is she really alive, or is Cicero using her for his to gain power control in the guild, and just doing cool quests and like assassinating the wedding assassination. It's like pretty cool, and just really novel quests. Yeah, I would say that the Dark Brotherhood's up there, and that's pretty cool. Stormcloaks, I did play a Stormcloaks, but it's kind of meh. I like the idea of doing the Civil War, and it is a neat quest, but I do feel, and I imagine the Empire quests are the same, where you're just kind of like grinding through forts, but that are held by the other faction, which makes sense for if you're fighting a civil war, but can get kind of repetitive and boring in my opinion. The Dawn Guard suck. The Dawn Guard just, I mean, they're the good guys, so I feel bad saying this, but like they're I've done the Dawn Guard quest before and it sucks. And you also have those like repeating bows that are like really kind of crappy, and the vampires kick their butt every time. Like there's like the Dawn Guard. The only cool thing about the Dawn Guard is their their guild or their castle. The place where they live is one of the most epically looking, most beautifully crafted um things, other than maybe the vampire castle, although it's like pretty close, that in the game. It's just whoever modeled the castle for the Dawn Guard, it's like more epic than the Blue Palace. It's like more epic, like it's insane. And other than the atmosphere of being in their guild, like the actual quests suck, and they're like so much crappier in my opinion than the vampires. The Thieves Guild is up there. I do like the Thieves Guild quite a bit. Like that is a neat quest, and getting to like associate with the Night Mother, or not the Night what's her name? Nocturnal. Yeah, getting the skeleton key and becoming a nightingale for Nocturnal, and just the interesting of somebody stealing from the guild and trying to figure out who it is. And Maven Blackbriar, the whole like Maven Blackbriar interaction. She's one of the more quirky characters in the game, in my opinion, and I just think it's pretty well crafted. So I'd say College of Winterhold is super tier. The Vampire Clan, Dark Brotherhood, Thieves Guild is A tier. Bart's College, the Empire and the Stormcloaks are B tier, and the Dawn Guard C tier. Um, just as far as straight up quests, we have the companions here, going from amazing to Nazim, which I be honest with you guys, I just pulled up. I didn't want to create an account for this, so I looked up pre-made polls. But I'm guessing Nazim is bad. I think that's like a term a Skyrim term used by Khajiits, I want to say, or something. Um, we'll just go to bad. We won't. I don't know what Nazim is. Um, companions. I'd say the companions is a good quest. Like it's a solid quest. I like the prestige. I like the werewolf. The under discovering that they're werewolves. Um, but it's not really like a noble. Like I went into it thinking that we might find some redemption from being like kind of thief characters, and we'd do an upward spiral from our downward spiral from being in the Dark Brotherhood and being the Nightingales and stuff to becoming more benevolent as we join the companions. But the companions are more selfish and kind of mercenary, which I respect, but is like it kind of takes away from just the noble idea of the Fighters Guild. And most RPGs, the Fighters Guild, you're helping the weak, you're helping the poor, you're hired to help people, not for your own self interest. And the werewolf, but like going to Sovngarde almost knocks it up to great. Like just the whole well, no, that's not even the companion. Sorry, I get my quests mixed up. Yeah, the companions is meh. It's okay. Well, I don't know. Is it meh? It's good. It's a good quest. It's kind of neat. The whole like inner circle of the werewolf thing kind of saves it from being meh. Like it is pretty cool to like be a werewolf, and like that really is a game changer. And one of the coolest parts of the games is becoming a werewolf, and they have the Sky Forge, and their guild is just super cool looking. So we'll put it in good. The Daedric quests, hands down, amazing. Like almost every single one of them was memorable. Just really some of my favorite, and it digs deep into the Skyrim lore, so it's hard to go wrong. Dark Brotherhood, I would say, I'd say, I'd say it's pretty great. Like killing the Emperor, like is pretty insane, and the of course like the wedding, and just like yeah, it's almost amazing. Like it's pretty darn good. Dawn Guard is man is crappy, but it's kind of a reflection of what I said earlier. Dragonborn, Dragonborn's amazing. Like fighting Alduin and like doing the like unleashing dragons on the realm. Like it's one of the coolest parts of Skyrim are the dragons. Um, Imperials, it's man, like it's kind of grinding in my opinion. Um, the main quest of Skyrim is pretty cool. Like I think the main quest, I get confused that like Alduin I think is the main quest, and Dragonborn is like the Solstheim quest. So both those are top. In well, I would say the main quest is the Dragonborn. Check this out real quick. Dragonborn quest line. Yeah, the Dragonborn is the Solstheim, and that's pretty cool. And it's neat going to like Hermaeus Mora's realm, but after a while it gets kind of boring to me. Solstheim is really cool just to see the. I would say actually the Dragonborn quest is kind of meh. I'm sorry, I got confused with the main quest, but the Dragonborn quest is like, I mean, or good. It's good. It's not meh. It's good. It's neat to see like half of the coolest part about the Dragonborn quest, in my opinion, is going to Solstheim and seeing the tribute to Morrowind, with like seeing a Stilt Strider reimagined, and just as like a nostalgic trip. It is just really cool. But fighting Alduin, um, and the dragons and everything like that's like I'd say that's top tier. Like if this was a DLC and this is if these were both DLCs and I could only pick one, I'd pick the main quest. Because killing Alduin is pretty awesome. Miscellaneous quests, I'd say a lot of the miscellaneous quests are good. Like I would say that we didn't play any random quests. I remember that I was like, oh, this is so boring. Like there was actually a lot of substance and thought and writing I felt that went into every quest we went on, and it's just crazy like how many we had to turn down. And we played a lot of quests and a lot of miscellaneous quests. We had to eventually turn down some, but like the quest at the beginning where you go into the barrow and you reunite the two lovers from, and it is just well thought out. There's just so many good, like just random quests. Um, Stormcloak, I'm gonna go with meh. It's all right. It's again, it's kind of it's kind of like the Imperial, where you're just like bulldozing forts after a while, and it just kind of is like, okay. Thieves Guild, Thieves Guild is great. Thieves Guild is a really, I thought was really thought out with Nocturnal and the Nightingales, and just a very creative quest. Um, the Vampire quest is almost amazing. It's up there. It's really good. Like Selena, the alchemist, going to um the place of the old masters, their realm. Um, Winterhold again is one of my favorite quests. It just Mage Guild, yeah, very cool. All right, enemies tier list, and this one, I don't know what KYS means. Um, we're just gonna do the ones that I recognize. I don't know all these, so um, we'll just go. We won't say. I don't know what could be below the S word. We'll say E tier. Let's not be crude. We'll skip this whole section and we'll do S to E. So let's do. I can't see what this is. It looks like some kind of elemental. Elementals are cool. I think we fight in a storm elemental, yeah. Storm elemental is A tier. Frost elemental, which I definitely like, we could summon frost elementals, pretty darn cool. I put in A tier. Giants are super tier. That is just so cool, like a part of the unique lore of Skyrim. It just is part of the charm of the game. Is there You're playing a game with freaking giants and dragons, like super, like it's like being a kid again, being a playing with your toys and stuff. It just is super cool, like super creative. Um, I think these guys are the Akavar, which are they're kind of a Arabian style, like red guards that we had to fight. They're like mercenaries. Um, they were cool. I like their armor choices. Like it's kind of neat to see that kind of old school scimitar. The turban kind of reminds you of like 1001 Arabian Nights, but they're not quite A tier, not quite super tier. Um, I think that's a vampire lord. That is a vampire lord, or gargoyles. That's the gargoyles. Gargoyles I put in super tier. Like it just is so unique to see like you're fighting gargoyles. It just is super cool. And Spriggans, I'd put Spriggans in A tier. Spriggans are just a really cool mythological kind of creature you don't see very much. Um, these wisps, I'd put in E tier. I'm almost tempted to put them in S tier because I hate fighting them and they're annoying and I don't think they look creative. And it's just one of the most annoying things to fight in the game in Skyrim, in my opinion. It's like the cliff racers from Morrowind, in my opinion. Like cliff racers are worse, but it's around there. The wisps. Um, the Forsworn. The Forsworn are kind of cool, like and kind of like I like it because it kind of reminds me of the 13th Warrior, but like it's not. they kind of, I don't know, it gets repetitive after a while, but it's cool. Um, Wisp Mothers, again, like I anything Wisp related in this game. Uh, the Thalmor, the Thalmor are a cool enemy. You don't get to fight them very often, but just the whole lore of the Thalmor, tempts me to put them in a higher tier, but um, we'll keep them in B tier for now. But they're pretty cool. These bug things, I forget what they're called. They're like these really, really tough beetles. I also didn't like at all. It's not as bad as the Wisp, but they're bad. They're like, we'll go ahead and put the Wisp in S tier, and we'll put these bugs here because I mean, they're cool looking in the beginning, but after a while, they get really repetitive and they're super hard to kill. Um, spiders, spiders are kind of an spiders are annoying, but they're kind of cool just for the fact that they're giant spiders kind of puts them up. But they're the dwarven centurions. I would put an A tier just because they're super cool to see any of the Dwemer designs. It just is. The Draugr, I just get so used to them. Like they're like in every dungeon, but they are a cool idea, and I like the nod to Norse mythology. Um, I don't know what that is. Is that a Reekling? If that's a Reikling, which is what I think it is, they're pretty cool. They're kind of a neat, like exceptional creature you don't get to see very much, and they're like these kind of dwarvish, Balmorish sort of. I don't know, like they're very cool. Are these necromancers? Necromancers are kind of necromancers are kind of neat in that they're exceptional at raising the dead and whatnot, but they don't have a lot to them. Like they get kind of boring after a while, other than raising the dead. Um, Ash Spawn. Ash Spawn are pretty hard, but they're pretty cool looking character. Um, the Falmor. The Falmor are kind of neat, but they kind of suck after a while. Like I start to like hate them after like the repetition of fighting them over and over again kind of gets to me. Um, Wolves. I think of like wolves. I think of like annoying creatures I have to fight that are you see everywhere. I don't know what this is. Can't really see what this is. Now these, the giant dwarven, like the giant dwarven, like I forget what they call them, like the Centurions. I think these are Centurions, but you know, I forget what they're called, but these like giant dwarven, like machinations are just super original and cool, like top tier. Um, Wolves. Um, this is a Briarheart. I think the Briarheart are kind of cool. They're like Forsworn, like top Forsworn leaders. I think these are orcs. Orcs from like Stronghold orcs are pretty cool, pretty original looking. Um, Fighting a mammoth that's kind of it's not quite like a giant, but it's pretty epic to see like a freaking mammoth. Like it never gets old. It's pretty cool. Werewolves. Werewolves are up there and A tier. I would, like find them highly original. Just very cool. Um What is this? Okay, this is like an Uber. Oh, the I forget what they're called. They're like Uber Drogger. But yeah, I don't know anything like Draugr related is like gets kind of it's cool at first, but it gets repetitive. You see them everywhere, and it becomes kind of boring. Frost trolls, they're not quite S tier, but they're like E tier. Like trolls are one of the more annoying things to fight in the game, in my opinion. Um, I don't know what this is. Ghosts. Ghosts are kind of cool, but they're all right. I don't know what can't remember all the saber tooth tiger is pretty darn cool. Thing super annoying. Dragons have to be like the coolest thing to fight in the game. Like and one of the coolest ideas in the game. Just super original. Very, very cool. Um mud crabs. Not quite wisp level, but they're like I'm never excited to see a mud crab. These things are like guardians in like the undead realm, and they're kind of novel for a while, or the old masters realm. Yeah, anything troll. The Hague Ravens are pretty darn. Yeah, I'd put Hague Ravens in A tier. That's a pretty novel character. Um, just because of how novel they are, I would put them in S tier. Like it's a pretty like Nordic mythological, like almost like just a very novel idea, or more Greek kind of with kind of Hague with the Nords, but Greek. Like the Hague Ravens are kind of like oh, what do you call them in Greek mythology? Harpies. They're kind of like harpies. Harpies and witches combined. Just very novel, very original. Um, I don't know what that is. Flame Antarox are pretty darn cool. Just because it's dwarven. Yeah, the dwarven spider things are pretty darn neat. And I'm not exactly sure what all the rest of these are off the top of my head. Yeah, so super tier, we have giants, we have the vampire lords, we have the giant dwarven centurions, the dragons, and the hag ravens. In A tier, we have the storm elementals, the frost elemental, the spriggans, the dwarven centurions, the reiklings, the ash spawn, the mammoth, the werewolves, and the flame antarok. In the B tier, we have the Akabar, I think, the Thalmor, the spiders, the dwarven spiders. In C tier, we have the Forsworn. Um, we have the orcs from the Stronghold. We have the saber-toothed tiger. Saber-toothed tiger is pretty original. We'll give push it up one. And we have the skeletons from whatever the old masters realm. And then we have for D tier, we have the spiders. We have the Draugr, we have the Necromancers, the Wolves, and the Ghosts. For E tier, we have whatever these insects are that are like impossible to kill. The Thalmor, Frost Trolls, whatever this thing is, um, Mud Crabs. And for the S tier, we have the anything wisp related, especially the wisp mother, because she would just spawn more wisps and they would just infinitely kill you. It just as nuts. Okay, for racist tier list, I'm just doing strictly in regards to thematically playing it from the looking at Skyrim as a standalone game. So I'm not thinking about like any of the other like Elder Scrolls Online, Elder Scrolls Oblivion. I'm just thinking about Skyrim, just purely. So with that in mind, I would say being a Nord would be the most likely to play. That's not what we played as, but that would be like the what would fit best in Skyrim as far as like your ability to get along with others, to adapt to the culture. It's because at the moment I know that Skyrim used to belong to the Snow Elves, but at the moment it belongs to the Nords, and their culture is the most prevalent. And it seems like the safest would be a Nord. Um, Although different, there is a surprising amount of like for as much as Skyrim gets criticized for the Nords being close-minded, and I mean, like every race kind of is in Elder Scrolls, they do seem to have a fair amount of them that incorporate in other cultures into their cultures or welcome other cultures to join their culture. Although it is a little bit, it is I feel like it gets a lot tougher once you leave this dynamic in regards to Skyrim as a standalone game. I would say orcs would be cool. I wouldn't say that they're like quite as like I want to play them in Skyrim quite as much because I feel like orcs are kind of confined to strongholds, but they do have a very strong culture, and they do stick together, and they do have a really neat like I like the orc strongholds and that whole um warriors code, and it's very interesting. So that would be up there for to play in Skyrim. I'd say what else are high up there um in regards to like just being hunting, like just the idea of like Skyrim is such a beautiful like hunter's paradise, and close to nature, and the wood elves would just revel in it, just being so it's such a natural world. Like for the it's like I feel like the Altmer have they're in the Imperials like Cyrodiil and these other places, the wood elves would be at less home with because it's less wild, it's more like urban, where I feel like Skyrim is very wild and untapped land. So I think the wood elves would be right at home. um I would say the Altimer, which is what we played, would be up there in regards to, but not quite the more likely. Although we did play them, I did think it was a good choice, especially since we were mages. But the how do you say they're just for like the fact that they're adept at magic and because of the College of Winterhold. But it would be a little bit difficult on them if people uncovered, which I don't think a lot of people know, a lot of the normal Skyrim citizens, the Nords of Skyrim, I don't think it's common knowledge among the Empire and the Stormcloaks that the Thalmor back both and are trying to divide Skyrim against itself. So like that's a huge deal. So like if anyone found that out, if that became common knowledge, it would be like D tier, or I'm assuming this is like the worst tier. It'd be like absolutely not, because it just you know we'd get our butts kicked. We'd be constantly persecuted. People, both the Stormcloaks and the Imperials would want us dead. So it becomes kind of common knowledge towards the end of the game once you play the Civil War timeline. But until then, like it's all like it's pretty smooth sailing because you're adept at magic, and I feel like the Ultimer are kind of desirable to most um, different races because of their intellectual prowess, their knowledge of magic, and they feel very like good, like pretty polite society, I guess. The Aragonians, I would say it would be tough. It'd be tough to be. We're actually like a dragon character in Baldur's Gate 3, and I like dragon lizard kind of characters are pretty cool, but it would be pretty hard. I feel like they get once you fall outside the realm of the humanoid, I feel like, unfortunately, as tolerant as the Nords are, which I think, as much as people get on them online about them being intolerant, and I'm sure there's a lot to that, especially with like the Grey Quarter and Windhelm and things, and you definitely hear a lot of comments when you're wandering around Skyrim. I feel like maybe in Riften, the Aragonians, because the Aragonians seem to have a good strong hold in Riften, but you don't seem to see them a lot of other places, and just depends pretty much anywhere you go. Unfortunately, the Aragonians are downtrodden. So all these races, by the way, I would play. I think they're super cool, but I'm just playing in regards to role playing for the realm of Skyrim. Um, I think these are the Bretons, and the Bretons, I would say, would be up there. I would bet you the Nords view them as kind of pansies because the Bretons are kind of like the more northern European types, and the Scandinavian Europeans, the Vikings, at least historically, tended to trounce them a lot. They would invade and just, they saw them, as Christ following pansies. And I'm not, like I'm a Christian, but like I can see where the pagans are coming from because like they'd go to these places and there'd be like an unguarded monastery and it was that none of the monks knew how to fight and they would just just pillage the cities and just because they were very warrior like. So but they are human, so I think that they would view them as like human, but would they'd probably get called milk drinker a lot and probably teased a lot for being kind of soft. Um, the Dark Elves, I think, would be a little bit more difficult. I think that they can find acceptance in Skyrim, and just the fact that they're being allowed to immigrate there, that they are taking them in and not pushing them away, shows signs of the Nords' benevolence. But stuff like the Grey Quarter, and they don't seem to integrate them or try to make them part of their society. They just seem to be tolerating them because of this Red Mountain explosion thing going on. And they definitely, like in Windhelm, get kind of there's a lot of racial tension because of the division of the Grey Quarter and the rest of Windhelm. So I could see there being a lot more racial tension being a dark elf versus any of the other races in the game. But they are accepted. They are accepted as immigrants to Skyrim by the Imperials and the Stormcloaks. Like the Stormcloaks might not let them wander as freely, but they tolerate them. They will tolerate them in their culture. Um, and yeah, so it is. It's not would be I'd say Dark Elves if I played if I was going by Morrowind standards, I'd say Dark Elves here, and then if I was playing Morrowind, as far as like, I mean, I might play another race of Morrowind, but if I was playing Morrowind, just to give you guys kind of a perspective of where the Dwemer are coming from when people talk about these things. Um, if I was playing Morrowind, this is how the tier list would look. Because the Dark Elves are notoriously racist against like everybody else, like other than Dark Elves. Like in Morrowind, it's very much more Morrowind for the Dark Elves. If you ever play Morrowind, um, so yeah, like Oop. Oop. Let's. Okay, so I would say that the Red Guard would I would feel pretty comfortable playing them in Skyrim. I would say that, there might be some racial tension between the Red Guards and the Nords, but they tend to, at least it feels like from our experience talking to Red Guards in Skyrim, that they're not really highly persecuted. And I feel like the Nords would even be more apt to smile upon them than the Altmer or the Bretons, because the Nords tend to be a lot more warlike, war driven, um, and respect people that are warriors. And I feel like the Red Guard have that background of being powerful warriors, and the Nords tend to favor the craft of war. Um, I would say the Khajiits would be another one that would be. I mean, I don't think that they're, you can't play Khajiit in Skyrim. I think it'd be a little bit harder. They do have those traveling caravans that seem to stay really tight, and it seems like the Skyrim and the Nords will tolerate their trading and stuff, but they do seem to be, um how do you say, like they seem to be like viewed as kind of miscreant, maybe like gypsy levels of like kind of mischievously natured. Um, and the Imperials, I would say the Imperials would be the closest to Nords. I would say like Nord, it'd be, obviously Skyrim for the Nords in their opinion, for most Nords, but I think that Nords would tolerate a lot of integration, not so much integration to the point where there weren't any more Nords. Like I think that they're like they very much value their culture, not to destroy it, but they would tolerate high levels of immigrations from these groups. I think on the whole, within reason, I think there would be a tipping point for sure. But I feel like the Imperials, although yeah, like obviously they drove out the Empire. Um, I feel like they're both warlike, and they're both um okay. I'd put Imperials down here because the Nords have such strong feelings about the Empire. Like it is kind of the old Roman Empire versus like Celtic kind of thing going on, like the Celtic barbarian tribes kind of idea, where they probably respect them as like competent warriors who have been able to subdue them and able to prove their worth in valor in battle, but they probably also view them as tyrannical to some degree. So that would almost push them down to meh. But I think that the grudging respect for them, and both being races that value the art of war, would almost push them to the most likely to play, because the Empire can prove that they can pretty much conquer all the realms in Tamriel, and that's like pretty high talking points for a warrior race. So we have our Skyrim races, and finally we're doing the Daedric princes. This is going to be a tough one. Um, there's some of them I'm going to be more familiar with than others that I'm not. We're going to go ahead and say right off the bat we're not going to do Jiggalig, because I don't think we played a Jiggalig quest. I don't know about the character very much. I would say towards the top of my favorite quests, I would put Clavicus Vile and Super. Like I just thought that was one of the more creative quests, with the Barbas, the talking dog, and the wishes, and the kind of being careful what you wish for, and the trickery of Clavicus Vile, and having to choose between killing a dog and getting a Daedric artifact is just like, the betrayal of his own servant, and just his demeanor and attitude. I just love it. Just very creative. Um, Mephala. Just make sure I have these side quests to kind of remind me. The Whispering Door. I thought Mephala was just on Skyrim alone. Like I haven't played any Mephala quests, Oblivion, or any other of the games, but like you get this really cool weapon, and there's like you. It is kind of neat that you're talking to the Emperor's children, and the child's behaving violent and strange, and it's kind of got an air of mystery to it. But it's not really like the end result isn't. There wasn't a lot to the quest. I felt they could have delved in the quest more and made it more entertaining. Um, Molik Ball, I thought was a very cool. I thought his weapon was one of the coolest weapons you could get in the game. It's way up there. The idea of like having to kill like a priest, even though it's another Daedric priest, so I don't but just that high stakes sort of just that feeling of just supreme power that emanates from Molik Ball is like way up there in a kind of an interesting way. Just one of the more interesting Daedra in his will to dominate. Is the Lord of the. I think Molig Ball is the Lord of Domination. I want to say, and domination and enslavement. Yeah, he's very author. Just as he demands your respect. He's just very powerful. Um, Hermaeus Mora, the Daedric Prince of Knowledge, I think is one of the coolest Daedric princes in the game, and one of the coolest ideas. Very Lovecraft inspired, very the mysterious, the mysteries of the unknown. Just the idea of the power of unbridled knowledge. Just it does it for me every time. Just really, really creative, good idea. Um, Nocturnal. Nocturnal's like pretty cool. I don't know about top tier, but she's up there. Like she just like the skeleton key and just being part of the Thieves Guild, and her presence is just so beautiful. She's stunningly beautiful. Um, just very sensual, but very like has a matronly air about her. Very like caring but cruel. Just a weird sort of combination. Like I wouldn't want to like be with a woman like that in real life or have anyone in my life like that, because it would not be cool. But for a game, it is kind of for like a computer game where you're just like you know uh you're just learning about Deirdre Lords. She's up there. She's pretty cool, and her aesthetic is really creative and original. Purite. Um, Purite's the one we didn't do, so I'm gonna hold my reservations on Purite, but it sounds interesting. Um, Vermina is the Dawn Star quest. I thought it was cool. It was a cool quest, but it was like one of my least favorite quests in regards to like. I mean, it's neat to see like the time shift and to go in the past and everything, and to learn more about the Vermina and why she is like trapping people. I think she's the goddess of night, the Daedric prince of night, dreams and nightmares. I just felt like they could have done a lot more with dreams and nightmares. They could have made it more like you're delving in people's minds and their dreams, or in your dreams. You have to face your worst dreams instead of this kind of time travel kind of thing to it. I thought there's so much potential for, because the whole town was talking about nightmares, and then you get there and you discover that you're not really like delving into people's nightmares, or there's no nightmare realm or anything. I think there's so much potential wasted for creative storytelling, but still, interesting quest. Um, I would say, I'd say it's probably more interesting than Mabala. Um, well, I don't know. Mafala started out really like the quest started out really interesting, then fizzled out. Like there wasn't much to it. Um, Sanguine is like my favorite Daedric Prince quest in Skyrim. It just is so out there and weird and funny, and it's just got a sense of humor to it, and just brilliantly executed. I like his look. I like the Grove realm of like his. I like the debauchery and the like the allusion to Bacchus and all the crazy stuff we did when we were drunk, and just very creative. Um, Boethia. As far as straight up like creatively weird, like Boethia's, it's not quite top tier, but it's up there. Discovering this like under society in Markarth of like cannibals that worship this Boethia cult that are cannibals and like eat people, and it's all people that are like top nobles in the city. It's like really creepy, like a very creepy cult, and just very interesting. It's a very interesting quest. Um, Mehrunes Dagon is up there too. I would say like just his presence, his he's like Molag Bal. Like he just demands your was he the prince of um ambition. Yeah, like his idea of like that he can just spend you. We said no, but he just assumes he can just spend anything to his will, and his just arrogant and powerful presence. We defied him, but like he definitely has a presence, and his statue is one of the most iconic statues, apart from Azura in in Skyrim. It just has a presence. And I'd say, speaking of Azura, I would say like Azura's up there, not top tier, but like just being transported above all of Skyrim, and going through her temple and the statue, or sorry, not Azura. Azura was okay. Actually, I got confused. Sorry. Azura's statue is really cool. I really like I know she's a fan favorite. A lot of people like Azura, but I found the quest to be okay. Like even like being inside the soul crystal was probably the coolest part, and it was like kind of, I don't know, it kind of wore on me after a while. Um, yeah, I would say Azura I would put above Vermina and Mafala, but it was less than to be desired than what I thought it would be. Her statue is super impressive. I like getting to know more about Azura because she is like one of the more benevolent Daedra, which is very rare. But yeah, her quest is like okay. Shiagura, like being inside an emperor's mind, like, and then having to mess with his like trying to go through his childhood dreams and whatever, and try to just like all these different, and just the insanity of it, and like the table that you first meet Shiagura at, and the kind of the Mad Hatter feel to it all, and the Alice in Wonderland sort of adventure, like really really cool. Um, her scene I would also put up there, like the whole like the werewolf, the curse of the werewolf, and the white stag, and just it's just a very novel original quest, just very very well thought out. Um, Malakath was pretty cool. I liked fighting giants, but I mean, and I do think giants are very novel, but I'd already fought a lot of giants to that point. And then also like, yeah, like it was okay. Um, Meridia, I really like her quest where you like rise above all of Skyrim. You can see all of Skyrim, and she does have a beautiful benevolence about her that she's a good person, and you want to. Um, she's a very nurturing and kind, like kind of character that you just like admire. Like you just like want to help her because wants she's like one of the most benevolent outside of Azura Daedric princes, and like if there's such a thing as a benevolent Daedric prince, which is very questionable, which probably not. Like she's there. She's just as yeah, it's just a very cool quest. Dawnbreaker is an amazing sword item that you get. Um, Namira. Oh, Namira. Yeah, it's all right. Like it's kind of like it is neat in that it really tests your moral fortitude in regard to like you have to like sacrifice a human to her, but she is like I feel like Habakkuk's file gives you options, but yeah, but you it's within your will. Are you silly enough to like accept his offers? Hermias Mora offers you knowledge. Sanguine, these all offer you something. Um, Moloch Ball and Marin's Dagon are like highly ambitious. Nocturnal is ambitious. Shiagorath is insane, but he is ambitious. Bothaya, all these A tier are ambitious, and Azura Malacath want and Meridia, I guess. So a little bit of A tier as well. Um, want revenge for fairly logical purposes. Um, Whereas Namira is just sort of like kind of crazy like Shiagorath, but she wants like unnecessary pain. Like she wants you to suffer and everyone to suffer. And to me, like there's certain ideologies that like they want your enemies to suffer, but they also want themselves to suffer, and they want like and I think that like in good faith, Christianity, like Jesus Christ, like suffering, like that ideology is very like is good. Like the idea of like any kind of ideology or whatever religion where you like you suffer, but you suffer for a greater good, and it's to make you a better person and stuff. Um, is a good thing. So, but Namir, I think, likes to like you're like her toy. You're not. It's not like a god that's testing you. It's like you're her, a toy in her hand that is just like she uses to make you do the most amount of pain to yourself and others. And it's just as like it's not like at least Shiagorath, like he might do something really nice or something really evil, but it's like he's crazy and you're kind of like, what is he gonna do? Like Namira's kind of like you have to be completely insane to like submit to her sadism. Um, and she doesn't have her personality is just evil. Like she's just not very like she's just kind of evil and not that like these are all like evil Daedra, but she just like is I don't know. She like wants you to suffer the most and for her pleasure, and it just is like these people offer you things. These people at least you respect their ambition. These people they want vengeance. These people kind of in a way want you to like just want suffering, and that's like the least compelling like character arc for me is there's no nuance to it. It just is kind of boringly evil. All right, well, we did our Daedric princes. our Skyrim races, our Skyrim enemy tiers, our good Skyrim quests, the factions, and their favorite cities. So yeah, that kind of does a little bit of overview, and I thought that'd be a really cool video to make to kind of wrap up our adventures in Skyrim. And I thank you guys very much for joining me on this journey during the Skyrim playthrough. And if you haven't seen them, I strongly encourage you. I played all the main quests in Skyrim, all pretty much all but one of the Daedric quests, and pretty much all of the not all, but like a good amount of the miscellaneous quests. So it was quite an adventure, and I look forward to playing again sometime soon. All right, I'll see you guys again for another adventure with Donald Plays.